We're going to then dive, I guess, into the Manchester story, first of all. So, Dave and Ian, do you want to share what you do first and foremost, Dave and Ian? What's your roles?
Yeah, I across Greater Manchester, I used to run the Unity Movement in Salford, just so people get a context of Greater Manchester. Greater Manchester is made up of 2 cities and 8 boroughs, so there's 10 local authorities. But we also have a mayor who covers over all of that. So we have a mayor who covers the whole of Greater Manchester, called Andy Burnham. So my role has been working in Salford, but liaising across Greater Manchester as well. Thanks, Andy.
So Andy, I'm the City Centre Minister at Methodist Central Hall in the city centre of Manchester, but my work is GM wide. I'm the faith sector lead on the Greater Manchester Homelessness Action Network and sit on the programme board with Andy Burnham.
So in this whole idea of recovery, how have you begun, and what's the things the first steps you took into begin this whole kind of movement going forwards? Ian, we'll go first of all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've got a very strong link with Andy Burnham, and it was felt that it was important to bring our church leaders together onto a call right in the midst of the COVID emergency. So we did this in that period. We were basically asking the question, what can we offer? What can we do? We weren't asking him for anything. We were actually saying, what can we do to be more coordinated? But it became clear during the course of that call that there was the prospect of being commissioned within our boroughs to actually be a part of this recovery going forward. And so this sense that we would become an engagement vehicle for that was basically born within that Zoom call with about 120 church leaders and charity leaders on that occasion.
So Dave, if people want to do a similar thing in their place, how do you begin to make that happen, that connection with the civic authorities? If it was a new connection for the first time, how do you begin to make that happen?
I think it's, for us, what worked in Greater Manchester is Ian already had a connection. There may be somebody in your place who already has a connection. So first of all, ask round, find out who's connected. Secondly, you need to make sure you've got the unity movement behind you, so you're doing it as a whole, and approach that. Ask them to come and speak to the church leaders. Would they like to speak? If you can get 100 church leaders together, would they be happy to speak to them about the need of your place? You know, people in the civic authority, one, are desperate to find other people they can connect with who are doing things. You're already doing things in your place. Then they need to hear that, but they also need to be able to tell you what the needs are as well. So I think it's organising yourself, making the approach, asking if they'd like to come and talk with you.
Brilliant. So Ian, you've got, almost 200 churches now, I think, across Manchester who are involved in this. How have you managed to galvanise this unity at this moment? I guess historically Manchester's had different kind of boroughs and different sections, but people have come together in this moment. Why is that?
Well, I think it's important to build that sense of us all working together. So 10 boroughs, each needing to have their own sort of connections in networks, some very, very mature in that, others less mature. So therefore then sort of saying, let's come together as a GM engagement vehicle, so we can then find out really from those who are involved in community hubs and also within the public sector, what precisely we should be offering to be part of. Some of the things that I think we've diagnosed within Greater Manchester, this might be the same for you, is this sense of no child going hungry, the importance of more youth work, mental health support, debt relief, unemployment responses, supporting homeless families, and I think particularly social isolation during this time. So if we know that we can contribute within our charities, within our churches, in relation to all of those things, far better that we can actually sort of have a coordinated approach to it. So we do the engagement first to get the intelligence, but then we say, right, we can deliver because we've got all of this going on. We know we've mapped it within our boroughs. We can then start to bring this delivery through. That's when the commissioning will happen. That's when the funding will start to flow. So we can do this in a coordinated way, but it must be a light touch vehicle.
Brilliant. So I guess, Dave, is there, I guess, almost since there could be almost so much need across a city that big, how do you even begin to discern what you do? So how are you going to work through that process as churches across that area?
Yeah. If I break it down as one example from Salford, So we're bridging the whole of Greater Manchester, but each borough has got something going on within that borough. So in Salford, we had a meeting with all the people that we could connect with initially, and there'll be more, who are from the churches or from Christian organisations are delivering on food. So we've got community groceries, we've got food banks, we've got school meal, people doing stuff for children, people doing stuff for families, for the homeless, etc. We pulled them together in a meeting and just got them to share with each other. Some knew each other, some didn't. So what we're looking at now is the possibility of Movement for Recovery being part of the delivery vehicle, literally churches across being partnered with schools to deliver food and activities for the holidays to families across our city. See, people want to do something from the churches. People on the ground want to help their community, but they need a vehicle that helps them to do that effectively. And Movement for Recovery helps do that. And it's in Salford, it's already bearing fruit after 1 or 2 meetings.
Brilliant. So Ian, I guess, what would be your hope over the next kind of 6 months that would be achieved through this process?
We're looking to have somebody who will actually be working full time as the coordinator of all of this, so that single point of contact that Roger mentioned in the introduction is clear, and the intelligence flows both ways. But critically, our borough connectors, we think, are the key part to all of this, so that they will have the real understanding of what's happening in terms of offer, but also what's happening in terms of need within their boroughs. So we're having very strong relationships built across the whole of Greater Manchester through this. It is a legal entity. It's hosted by the Greater Manchester churches together, so that we actually exist as a legal entity now and we can receive funds.
And so Dave, those people who listen, I think it all sounds great, but it sounds like a lot more work. What would be some of the kind of key steps, and how much work is it really taking on this kind of a project?
Yeah, I think the key is on the ground at the moment. There's not a lot more work. There's been work setting up the legal entity. There's been work connecting with people across GM, but a number of because GM's slightly different to some areas because we cover 10 councils, and so we've had to do that. But actually, there's been a certain amount more work, but not a load on the ground. So no one's actually doing anything more on the ground, but they're being more strategic and they're getting better connected on the ground. So certain amount of work at the legal side and at the structural side, but not necessarily a massive more amount of work on people who are already busy on the ground.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, guys. It's an amazing story of what you're doing there. And I think Roger and you guys are going to put together a kind of document outlining some of those kind of key basic stepping stones. And also some of the templates for letters you've sent off to different people like the mayor. So you can copy those and use them in different contexts. And I guess if you can do it in Manchester, then we can do it anywhere. When we do anything else right now, I think we're good just to pause for a moment. There's 2 things. I think first of all, it can be so overwhelming, this sense of need across our nation right now. And also, I'm a bit of an activator. I'm a doer. I want to make things happen straight away. But it's so important that in this process that we really invite God to lead us in our thinking. So we're going to have moments just to be quiet before God. And perhaps if you've got a window where you are now, you want to look out your window, look out your place for a moment. And spend a minute being quiet before God and allow God to prompt you. What are the right things to be thinking and doing in this season? Rather than rushing in or being overwhelmed, what is God saying to you about your place in this moment? So a minute just being quiet. If you've got a window, go and find a window, and we'll join back in 1 minute's time.